Folla Capital helps small businesses raise capital using one of the several programs authorized under the 2012 Jobs Act. They are especially passionate about helping to raise capital for veteran-owned, women, and minority-owned small businesses across the country. Be sure and check them out at follacapital.com.
But yeah, the Beastie Boys are like the original white boy hip hop group.
Like NSYNC.
No, like for real hip hop.
Like Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys. That's the one I was thinking of.
Right, what?
Like One Direction.
All right, let me get out Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, man. But anyway, we're joined today by DW as our guest. DW, introduce yourself.
My name is DW. There is none other than me, but no, I'm just kidding. DW Hamil. I've been in the VBC for about a year now, and I'm here to chat it up and what specific information you might want. Other than that, we can dive into.
I mean, we can continue rabbit holing on Beastie Boys if that's what you prefer.
Hey, man.
I mean, Avery can rabbit hole on almost anything.
A number of things.
I came here to be in the moment, and I intentionally tried to just clear all of my stuff out, so I didn't have one particular topic. That this could just be a creative moment. We could go wherever we wanted to go with it. And,
that's how we do it. That's why you didn't get a script ahead of time,
right?
Or an agenda. We got a couple things we always do at the end, but. I guess, we're the Veteran Business Collective, so we have the veteran aspect of it. We have the business aspect of it. So we will touch on those points a little bit. So being a veteran, what branch were you in? What'd you do?
Gotcha.
Let's start there.
We'll go with the VBC 30-second elevator pitch. How about that?
Well, we've got more time than that, so feel free to stretch it if you want to.
Well, I'm an Army veteran. I started out in the National Guard. I spent 2 years on active duty. Basically, with a deployment. I got called up out of the ranks of the National Guard, sent to Fort Bragg for 12 months, and then went overseas, Kosovo and Germany. I was in Germany for 9/11, so that was my first actual active orders that I was ever put on. Went there for an AT and got stuck there.
What was Kosovo like?
Kosovo, by the time I got there almost immediately after everything had settled. So it was still war-ridden, and they were still actively out looking for certain people, but there was no active fighting going on. We did have a couple riot breakouts that we handled pretty quickly, and I'm sure other people have noticed that in certain peacekeeping situations you step into, a lot of times when the Americans show up, they all just kind of say, okay, we're done. And that's kind of where it was at that point for us, is we would show up and they go, oh, it's the Americans, we quit. And so there wasn't a whole lot to do other than just be present. Sometimes
that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I'm thankful for that. There was a lot that went into that. There was a lot of presence. Like we still had Apache helicopters there. We phased them out as we were coming out. So my last couple months in country, they had already phased them out. But just being on patrol and being present in the communities and making friends with people was more about what our mission was about than to try to use a strong arm or iron fist.
Yeah.
So we were more, our turn in theater was more about the finesse.
Okay.
So,
what'd you do for the Army? What was your MLS?
I was an MP.
Job?
I was an MP.
Oh, okay.
So technically I was a combat MP. We trained for combat, but most of the time I served in garrison formats.
Okay. And what year did you leave the Army?
I got out in 05 and officially in 07.
Okay.
My contract ended in 07.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. Did you end up doing any law enforcement after that? It seems like a lot of MPs end up going into law enforcement on the civilian side when they get out. Did you end up doing any of that?
So no, and at that moment in time, transition wasn't even a word.
No, it wasn't even when I got out. I've only been out 8 years.
And it was essentially the big green boot, and you're just like, oh, all right, I'm here now. What do I do? And there was no guidance. So I think we got a 30-minute video on, making sure you're sound up top, and then we got another 30-minute video on making sure that we talked to this list of people, and they flashed it up the board for about 3 seconds, and if you didn't write it down, you didn't get it. So that was kind of the transition experience. So when I got out, I had no guidance. I had nothing. I'd had a few guys in that were like, "Oh, you can get into this, or you can get into that." So I tried FBI, I tried the Secret Service, I tried the Border Patrol, and at that point, they weren't actively recruiting in law enforcement. It was more of a privilege to work in law enforcement, so you had to know someone to get in the door. So then I worked my way down, and every time I tried to step into local law enforcement, it was one of those situations of, well, if you'll go get your BLET, then you can come back and talk to me. Let's just go get your school. I'm like, well, hell, I just left like same amount of school.
You probably more schooling that you got from the Marine Corps than you'd get from going to the community college and taking BLET, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Other than you would get the local state laws. So I could understand. But, now they're like paying people while they go through BLET just to get them to come in. So
it was even something I looked at years ago. Not because I wanted to work full time as a peace officer, but something just being on, like, I lived in Pender County at the time, and I was thinking, man, maybe it'd be good to just be on their reserve officer list,
right?
In the event that there's a need for a plus up, and something in the community or whatever. I'm somebody they could call to active service.
Right.
And, I reached out to him. It was the same thing. It was, hey, you need to go to BLET. I'm like, I can't give up 9 months of full-time.
That's right.
I can't commit 9 months of full-time academics so that I can be a reserve officer somewhere after I've got 13 years of Marine Corps, experience and, being in combat arms and everything else. Like, I don't need to show up and learn how to exercise and shoot a pistol and all the rest of it. Like you said, the statutes and that would be great.
Right.
Like, if they could figure out a way to, like, honor some of the military service and give that portion of it separate to cut down on the required time commitment, maybe it'd be simpler for guys to get involved. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think that they need all the training they can get. It should be something just like the military, we train all the time. We train just to train. It's funny. But it's true. And law enforcement needs that same thing, but there's a lot of key pieces that are missing. But back at that point, you're right. It was 9 months that I had to give up. I had to pay for the course.
And not get paid while you're doing it.
And I could have used the GI Bill, but then it would have wiped the GI Bill out. And I was like, I'm not willing to give up a 4-year for 9-month program. So it was one of those things I had to do the cost benefit and then say, is this really worth me doing all this just to get a $28,000 a year job?
Right.
And so I got offered an opportunity to go to the jail for a while, and then he would sponsor me to go. And I started down that road, and at the meantime, got a job offer making $34,000 a year at that point versus 28 to go into restaurant management. So I chose that path.
Yeah.
I went with the first train smoking. I can look back on that and say, oh gosh, I was such in a victim mentality because it just, was, oh, woe is me at that point. Because it was hard. It was tough. I got out of the military in a bitter mindset, and it took me a long time to even get to a point where I owned my veteran status. Just being able to step into that light and say, I'm a veteran and I did something worthwhile.
Do you feel like you knew what you wanted to do Do you think
I
that
had no clue.
impacted it as well?
I still have no clue what I want to do.
We just talked about that. That's too
I
funny.
see that a lot when folks are transitioning out. They often have a don't want to do list, right? And you'll
Right.
ask them, and it's very common, and it's hard to just figure out, right? But you'll say, hey, what are you interested in doing? What industries are you considering? And the list is like, well, I don't want to do this. I know I don't want to do this. This is it. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's great. Like, I have no use for that information. What do you want to do? I cannot introduce you to a lot of people starting like now, but that's the easy part.
Right.
Who do you actually have an interest in speaking to or learning more about what their organization does? So yeah, that definitely, I see that affect people being able to, I'm trying to think of the word, but say pursue something in particular with any type of focus, right? Because they're kind of wandering to see what they bump into. So I was just wondering that when you were, because it sounds like you applied to a lot of stuff.
I can tell you, man, I've been through so many changes in my career span, which, I mean, part of it is I'm not afraid to just change.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the change. And that's part of the reason why I'm kind of fell into the situation that I fell into now, where I'm operating within a space within the insurance arena, operating in my own capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also working on a couple other business projects and it's one of those things with growing up with ADHD that it was like I could touch multiple things at one time, and it keeps my creativity going is having something new to create.
I like
all
how
the
you
time.
mentioned that. I don't think I've ever heard someone reference ADHD positively, ever. But I just wanted to point that out. I thought that was really cool.
Well, I mean, I think that's an important key
Yeah.
to understanding yourself. And trust me, some of the concepts that I regurgitate today are a result of the past 12 months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of it is, yes, I have a long list of experiences that have helped me throughout my life, but my mindset
Mm-hmm.
has come alive in the last 12 months,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to look at things in a different light. And so ADHD is something that has affected me. It's something that I've lied about. It's something that I've hid. It's something I've been ashamed of. And I'm going, but wait a minute. It has helped shape who I am today.
Yeah, I feel like it can be a superpower if you're aware enough to figure out how to embrace it.
Right.
Like, there are whole industries of people trying to figure out how to have the bandwidth to entertain multiple things at once or have more energy than they know what to do with. All right, like there's
would
some
love
legal and
some of that.
yeah, there's some legal and illegal industries that have been kept in business a long time trying to harness this. It's cool to see someone like capture it and make the most of it.
I think that the biggest thing, the biggest strength that it gives me is just the ability to see change and accept it faster. Because if I'm not careful, you and I can have a conversation, and I will think 10,000 thoughts in a split second, especially if you present me with a problem, because I like solving problems. So I'm one of those people that, I used to get lost in conversation to the point that if you brought up a problem, I was trying to solve it for you.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to come up with different angles and everything like that to look at. I've gotten better about being mindful in that space and trying to be present in the moment and actually hear somebody. But then I take that back and I actually put thought into people's problems. And if something comes up for me, I share it. I mean, it happened just today at one of the networking events I was at. This young lady is trying to build an occupational therapy practice, and she's dealing with seniors, and we were sitting at a country club, and I said, have you thought about connecting with country clubs and offering a free class for the seniors? She's like, no, thank you. I was like, hey, you're welcome. Yeah. I was like, yeah, I got my vibes for the day. I mean, I'm ready to rock and roll. So, look, And I feel like life is full of lenses. It's how you interpret things. Everybody has got their own set of lenses that they're going to interpret things for. So, and you're really good at this, by the way, Avery. That's one thing that I've appreciated about you and have noticed about you is when you have a problem or just a thought, you start. I've seen you at networking events, and you're constantly walking up to somebody like the life insurance. I know you've asked probably a half a dozen people about their take on life insurance. That's because you wanted to see the multiple different lenses.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's like, wow, man. I mean, you just inspired me with that. So you're an inspirational person.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
You mentioned specifically a minute ago about some sort of change that took place 12 months ago. Do you mind talking about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or maybe over the last 12 months. I don't remember how you worded it exactly.
To dive pretty deep, if I'm honest with myself, that change goes back. How graphic do we really want to get here?
It's up to you. It's your story.
Yeah.
So, no. So,
I mean, we're going to stay clothed, but other than that, it's your story.
I'm imagining like ayahuasca or mushrooms or acid.
If you admit to any crimes, I'm not responsible for your arrest.
So let's see. December 2019, I was 297 pounds.
Okay, you're a big boy.
I was a big boy.
Yeah.
I was knocking on the door at 300. And I kept telling myself, you're not going to get to 300. You're not going to get to 300. That was my focus. I'm not going to get to 300. And I just kept inching. And finally I put my boot in the ground and said, all right, it's time to take a stand. And I enlisted in a dietary program that changed my life. Is it something that I'm like, hey, everybody should do this? No. I've tried to get other people to do the same thing. It's a tough program. It was something I had to go into with a lot of mental toughness. And I didn't understand all of the precepts that she had built into the program until I had grown even further in mindset. But I went 40 days eating no fats, no sugars, no carbohydrates.
Ooh, that's a tall order.
So
Nice.
it was
just no sugar. I mean,
it was just a stupid clean diet.
Just trying to figure out how to
challenging.
do that, right? Because they put it in everything.
Everything.
It's in literally everything you eat.
So I had to learn a new way to cook. I couldn't cook with oil anymore. I had to learn how to be a seasoned master, and I had to learn how to cook with chicken broth. I had to learn limited meats. Cut out I couldn't have pork during that time frame. Which, interestingly enough, when my wife tried pork back again, she found out she was intolerant to it. So now we have to say my wife's allergic to pork. Which isn't a bad thing. It's whatever. There's so many different things to eat out there. If you're hung up on one thing, then, change your mind.
Chocolate. No.
That's the weakness?
No, like as an alternative to pork. I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh, is it?
Just try it.
Yeah. There we go.
BLT with a Hershey's bar on it.
Yeah, can I get a Hershey LT? No. But yeah, so I went from 297 down to 209. And
That's awesome.
I've put on a few since then, but I've also changed my diet, hit the gym, and I'm kind of doing a different run of things. But I think that was the catalyst point of me realizing that I can make changes. And then the second one came along when I found out I had a tumor. I had a inguinal hernia. They went in to fix it, found out I had a tumor, and they wound up doing what they call a radical orchiectomy. And to save people time of looking that up, I had a testicle removed. I became a sounding board at that point for men to, let go of that shame and actually reach out and talk to you. Because as soon as I put it out of what happened, I had 5 guys reach out to me and say, hey, I got this thing, and I don't know if it's. I said, just spit it out, man. Just say it. Mm-hmm. Well, I got an extra nut, or I got this bump. I'm like, all right, quit being a knucklehead. Go get the shit checked out.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't go get it checked out, if it's something, I mean, if you're worried about it, go check it out.
Right.
You don't have
Yeah,
to.
but it's probably intimidating and scaring.
It
And
is.
nobody wants to have that ego check of having to admit that they've got a problem, especially in it's such a sensitive topic, right?
But when I came out of that, and I thought, oh my, they tell me this. I wake up and I'm like, I move and I go, oh, I'm hurting way up here. What's going on? My wife goes, well, this little funny thing happened, and
Which you might not find so funny when I tell you what it is.
and she tells me, and I'm just like, it's like, okay. I was less concerned about the fact that I was swinging solo, and more concerned with the fact that I had a tumor.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent it off for biopsy. Came back negative. It turned out to be like some adrenal tissue that had just puffed up.
Okay.
Did its thing. Less than 1% of men in the world ever have that, and only another like 20% of those 1% have it manifest like mine did. So it was like a super
Pretty
rare
rare
case,
thing,
and they were like, hey, it's no big deal. I mean, like, good to go. But I think that also rocked me enough to say, all right, it's really time for me to change, because the last 10 years of my life, I had been working in a situation with a family business. I wasn't happy with the direction. I wasn't happy with what was going on. And overall, I wasn't happy as a person.
Mm-hmm.
So that October of 2020, I went to the Shooting Warriors event. Saw it on LinkedIn. I think Ethan Bickley actually was. We were in the same unit, and I stayed connected with him. And when I saw Rob posted up on his LinkedIn page and saw the video, I sent him a message. Hey, is this guy legit? Like, what is this? And he goes, "No, it's legit. Go get a suit, man." I'm like, all right. I mean, I'm actively looking for other positions. I'm going to need a suit to interview in. Why not? Let me go check it out. And from there, Rob met with me afterwards, and just to follow up, see how things went, wound up making me a job offer, and I went to work with Rob. And that drastically changed my life. Because for 10 years of my life, I had somebody telling me that all my ideas were crap, that I needed to shut up and just do what I was told. And, it was always negative. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden I step into a space where Rob is like, hey, man, you can do this, you can do this, you can create, you can blah. Rob's like the bomb. Mm-hmm. His energy is way over the top. If you've ever met him, you kind of feel like you need to go run afterwards. Let me go run 2 miles. I just met Rob. Yeah, but
that's a good way to describe him.
Working in that space, man, was just, it was awesome. I mean, I could screw up, and it would be like, all right, cool, you screwed up. What are you going to do about it? Well, I guess I need to do this. All right, have you thought about doing it this way? No? Okay. Well, decide which way you're going to go. Well, what do you think? He goes, I don't know, decide. I'm like, man, I never had somebody make me make a decision like that. So, but yeah, those are the types of things that challenged me to grow, and he just kept handing me books and getting me around people like you guys. And being in the Wilmington market actually put me into a path where I met somebody like Tim Howard, went through the man school, and then that again changed everything. And I've just been on this path of let me consume as much mindful techniques, as much thought-provoking, as much dreaming, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to consume it, and I'm trying to create the life that I want for myself, and it's working.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So I want to hear about that part, because there's so many people, they'll go to the seminars or they'll read a book and they get hyped up, right? And then there's no follow through, there's no execution,
Right.
And those books are so popular, and I enjoy them. I have lots of them. I read them all the time too. They're so popular because they give you this emotional high as
Right.
you read the story, right? They're crafted in a way to make you feel positive and good, which is the point, because you're supposed to feel better and then take action on it. But a lot of times it's like, the New Year's resolution of going to the gym, you sign up for the gym membership, you're feeling awesome, and then by the end of January, like, there's nobody in the gym anymore.
Right.
So I'd like to hear your perspective on how all these things have actually you've actually been able to take them and harness them and then put them into practice and use them in a way that's affecting your life like you've said it has.
So there's two key words in one of them you said.
Okay.
Practice.
Practice. Okay.
So I was listening to Chris Dorris and Steve Chandler on a podcast just this morning, and there's two thoughts that I can pull out from that. One of those is he said, I can throw you a basketball and tell you what hand you write with, but I can throw it to an NBA player and I can't. And that thought process is interesting. The only difference between you and the NBA player is the NBA player has dribbled the same amount with both hands, and he's done it over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and you haven't.
Mm-hmm.
That and unless you believe that to be true, you're always going to go, oh, he's a superman. He's Michael Jordan. He's this. He's Stephen Curry. Well, Stephen Curry shoots 100 free throws every freaking day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you? Mm-hmm. If you did, would you be as good as Stephen Curry? Possibly. So it's all about, the things that you put into practice and how often you practice them.
So what is it that you've been putting into practice that's turning dividends for you?
One is I'm being mindful of what I put in.
Okay.
It's easy to fall into bad habits. It's easy to fall back to the way things were. But, one is just trying to change that routine up.
Mm-hmm.
And putting into practice every day that I'm writing out my goals. I'm writing out what it's going to take for me to succeed today. I'm actually designing the life with a statement. I write a statement out just about every morning. I won't lie and say I do it every morning because some days I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my goal, is to get up every morning and write this statement out. And that statement is my creativity for the day of what am I going to create. So having that coupled with I am statements. I say things like, I am resilient, I am strong, I am worthy, I am loved, I am loving, every single day.
So a lot of positive self-affirmation.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's about identifying who it is I want to be,
mm-hmm.
and start the process of practicing being that person.
Mm-hmm. Almost like a reprogramming sort of, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Neuroplasticity at its best.
Mm-hmm.
So just like your computer program, you can be, your brain works like a computer program. It sends electronic signals back and forth through the body.
So you're in the insurance biz, right?
Correct.
You want to talk about that a little bit? What is it you do specifically and that sort of thing?
So after working with Rob for a while and learning State Farm's side of things, I got an opportunity to go into the employee benefits arena with a brokerage firm. I think the big catalyst for me was it was my piece, my little pie to work on, and that was the only thing. I sat down and did all my cost benefits of making that decision, and ultimately it was about what would make me happy. So that's what I went for, and being in that space has been so much fun. I don't like being stuck in an office. I like being on the go, out talking to people, talking to somebody different every day, and building relationships. And that's what this job has been. I am wholeheartedly am out there trying to help people understand that they can have access to employee benefits in their business. They just have to look at it and approach it in a different format. And that's what I help do. Because we're a brokerage firm, I'm able to go out and find what fits. So that's the biggest point of what I do is just, to me it's a consultative. It's like I get to partner with somebody and help them make their business better.
Mm-hmm.
So that is part of my go-giver attitude, is that I get to give you access to something you didn't think was possible to help your business become more solidified. Because how many times have you had somebody leave your business for another job that offered dental because they had a toothache?
Right.
I've seen it happen. It's not all the time, but everybody right now is starving for employees. You need every edge you can get, and being able to say that I offer this or I offer that when your competitors aren't is huge.
For someone who finds himself in a similar dynamic, right, where you're in an industry that there's an importance of being able to develop and forge strong relationships for doing business, right? What you seem like you're naturally inclined to do it, but I imagine that there are some things you practice as well that optimize it. How would you recommend, someone considering improving their ability to forge, relationships in business? Because that seems to be kind of what your business is built on, right?
Right. For me, it's been about talking to people that I already knew. That's been the key to my success. And being willing to ask and being willing to talk to new people. But to me, the key to success and everything, and this is something I'm still practicing, I still fail at it, is, and Tim talks about it as talks of love, but or calls of love is what he calls it. But it's more focused on how can I serve you. Where if I can call somebody and not even talk about benefits and find out something that I can help serve them on, then I feel like I've won. Whether it turns into a paycheck or not, that doesn't matter. And that's kind of like that go-giver attitude. That is that universal karma, whatever you want to call those things. To me, if you're actively out trying to give service to other people, that's the long game. If I'm trying to give you leads, I called you the other day and said, hey, I got a guy looking for something. It just happened to be somebody else I was networking with. I've actually, looking back on my life, I've done that naturally throughout my entire life. I just didn't know how to do it professionally. And, everybody and their brother does it already. They go, hey, if your best friend had a tire shop up the road and some dude got a flat in front of your house, you'd be like, hey, go over there to Tony's and he'll fix your tire.
Absolutely.
That is the same exact concept, but if you take it into a professional world, polish it a little bit and say, hey, by the way, I have a really good relationship with Chase, and, I see that you got a burst pipe in your house. I think he would be a good person for you to call. I know he won't, I know he'll shoot you straight and he won't rake things over. He will actively work with your insurance to get things straight. So I'd give him a call, see what he can do. I can make that recommendation because I've gotten out here and I've built a relationship. So you get out in your professional networks and get to know people. It's one thing to sit on LinkedIn all day or on Facebook all day while you're at your office. But, why go have lunch with the same person every day?
Or by yourself.
Which I do constantly. But at the same token, I try to find ways to interact with people within my network. And I don't give up an opportunity to go find more people in a network because you never know who you're going to meet. Just the other day, I met a business broker. Like, ooh, tell me more about that. So we've got lunch set up to go learn about him business brokering. Just because I'm curious. I'm like I said, I'm taking a page out of Avery's book now. I'm going to ask him a bunch of questions.
Fair enough. That's awesome.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
That's a good deal. That actually reminds me, I need to call a business broker myself.
He might know one.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Yeah, wait till I have lunch with him, and I'll let you know how it goes.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, we'll make that connection. He's
enough.
in Jacksonville, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, actually, I should call them. Definitely.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you after.
And that's how networking happens.
That's right. Hey guys, this is the VBC, and that's one thing I will say this about VBC. Oh my gosh! So walking in the door the first time, because I kept hearing it. I was in Rob's office and I kept hearing, I think it was called NC Vet Biz at that point, and kept hearing, and he's like, just wait. I said, Rob, I want to go. I want to go check this thing out. You're like talking about it all the time. Let me go check it out. And he's like, hold on, we're making some changes. And so I get invited to like the first or the second VBC. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. You know, there's a bunch of people in this room. And the most prolific thing that happens is you stand up and you say, hey, I'm DW with State Farm. I work for Rob, you know. Or I think I actually said something stupid.
You
like,
said you're Jake from State Farm. I remember because you had on the whole outfit, man. You had on the khakis, you had on the red shirt. Yeah.
Well, I am that personality. Like I wear stuff to make people remember me.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was funny. I remember that. Yeah.
But I do things like that just to punch it out there. I mean, why not? Why not just get out there and do it? I know I went to one networking event one time and I stood up for my elevator speech and I said, hi, I'm DW. I'm an amateur race car driver. I'm a semi-professional ace car driver and an amateur tattoo artist. And I said it better than I did here, I promise.
You sold it.
I sold it. I rehearsed it.
It's like I
Because I knew I wanted to just
how much experience he has in tattooing.
Yeah. And everybody just kind of stopped and looked, and then somebody busted out laughing, and 2 or 3 other people busted out laughing. Then I realized who in this room has watched Ricky Bobby and who has not.
Yeah, exactly, right?
So, or Talladega Nights, I should say. Let me get it right. But immediately following the initial format of my first VBC meeting, 4 or 5 people just walked up and introduced themselves to me and said, if I can help you do anything, let me know. Or even one guy walks up and says, hey, I've got this guy over here. I need you to give him a call. And then Rob comes walking in from to the office the next day with like 5 things in his hand and goes, here, this is all from VBC. Run those down. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He said, you did good. And then walks away. And so, but
it's cool to hear that.
That was my very first experience with VBC, and it was just like mind-blowing. And the more I got involved and the more I watched how you guys interact, like the relationship between Rob, Matt, yourself, Scott Wilkinson, Avery, all of you guys has been, I mean, it's inspired so many people that you don't even realize how much it's touching watching you guys go about doing things. And you've inspired me in such a way that I go into situations sometimes and I go, all right, how am I going to channel my inner Chase? You know,
that's a dangerous path to go down.
Or how do I channel Avery on this? Because
that's safer. He'll ask intelligent questions. I'll just stand there in the corner and look grumpy.
Hey, but sometimes that's what you need to do. You know, I need that intimidation every now and then. But no, but it's been watching all of this stuff transpire, you can't help but just say, yeah, I want to be a part of it.
And you have been. You've been a huge part of it. For people that don't know, DW has started our first chapter outside of Wilmington.
Right.
And currently runs that and is looking at expanding that into another market, right?
I am.
Yeah.
It hasn't been without challenges. It's had its ups and downs.
Everything does.
But we have, honestly, our very first few meetings with the New Bern chapter, and there was business being transacted right off the get-go.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
There were 2 nonprofits that got together, and as a matter of fact, I've kind of been invited into the fold of one of them to help see what we can do to kind of change its course. And we have a really cool mission, kind of mapped out, and it's kind of inspired by BBC to a certain extent, because I can't help but what's already here and already present, and having that nonprofit get influenced by it, just if it takes off and does even half of its mission, it'll be a great support. And so I'm looking forward to where that leads. I'm looking forward to the multitude of stuff that I have gotten my hands into and the people that have been brought in the mix. I couldn't ask for a better network to be a part of than this one.
Oh, cool. Glad to hear that, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if it's, it doesn't matter whether to me, it doesn't matter what your job is. You can add value to this organization. You can add value to the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about.
And you never know what's going to come back around your way when you step into an organization like this and you add value. So I think, to what you were saying earlier with networking and stepping into these spaces, if you step in with the mindset of, it's not about what I get, it's about what I can add.
Mm-hmm.
What will come back around on the backside will be exponential.
That's a tough thing for a lot of people to keep in mind is you're not worrying about the tit for tat, right? Like being able to just give openly and freely with no expectations and just trusting that all your good that you do in the world is going to be reciprocated, even if it's not a direct one-for-one sort of fashion.
Right.
Right. Like you mentioned the flat tire thing. It might be that you did a favor for this guy over there, and then one day you have a flat tire and somebody comes by and helps you out. That might be the way the good can come back to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be a trade like, hey, I'll give you this referral, but where's my referral? Right? Like that's a short-sighted way, I think, to go about it.
Yeah. I think the magic happens in I'm going to do this for Avery, and it's going to make me feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't understand that concept necessarily, depending on the dynamic going on in their life. Because I've seen that quite a bit lately where I've helped someone. Often it's another agent, right? Or maybe it's someone interested in investing, and I talk to a lot of wholesalers, or I just know about a bunch of random stuff for sale off market or things of that nature. And they'll say, hey, I'll give you a referral fee, or I'll make you this or that. And I'm like, no, I'll just help you. Like, I don't need to, make money every time I interact with you. I know this stuff for free all the time, so I could just help you. And it's a lot more fulfilling, right? Rewarding
It is.
than trying to nickel and dime every interaction that you have with someone that's to their benefit and not necessarily yours, but financially anyway. But I think it is beneficial, right, to verify that the information is correct and it's still of utility. If I'm not readily able to apply it, that's valuable to me over just getting compensated because I helped you for something that took me 10 minutes of phone calls.
Yeah.
Right. So that's awesome to hear.
Well, I think I've thought about that very scenario quite a bit and why sometimes guys have a problem or have a hard time with it. And if you're stepping into a space where you're in your own business or you're in a full sales commission-based platform, it's easy to get desperation mindset.
I think rental investing has helped free me of being worried about that.
Right. But I think
Definitely.
that happens, and people are looking to, get every little edge for that, little taste of paycheck, and it's something that I am been practicing is living out of an abundance mindset. Is that Elon Musk talks about it, where, and don't ask me to requote figures because I'm horrible at that, but the long and short is that he took the money that he made from PayPal and he invested everything in the two businesses, Tesla and SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
And those two businesses are now worth an enormous amount more than his initial investment. But he looked at it and said, money's just a tool. I have this set up that pays my bills. I am going to invest everything. And he's like, because I know there's more. It's just something that comes in and you put it out and it comes back. You put it out and it comes back. And for a lot of people, they're stuck in this mindset of scarcity where I can't afford or I can't do or I'm worried about this. And do I fall into that every single day and I have to coach myself out of it? But living in that abundance mindset of saying there's enough business for everyone. There's enough to pay my bills. There's enough for this. And even though I can't see it, there's more coming. And being able to actually sit and stepping back into something you had asked me earlier, one of the other key words for that transition is belief. If you don't if you don't believe in yourself or believe in the process you're working, then it's hard to stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get in the mirror and reconcile that you believe who you say you are. So even when you fall short, it's just a matter of going back to the path and saying, all right, cool, I didn't react to that the way I wanted to react to it. So now I'm going to recognize it. I'm going to go back and carry on.
Be better prepared for the next time.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like falling on a ruck march. What do? You get your ass back up, dust yourself off, and keep marching. And if you got to, you run back to your position.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing in life.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
That's true.
Yeah.
I agree with that. As someone who's 5'8" and did more ruck marching than I would have liked to. A lot of long legs out there.
There are a lot of those out there.
hey, I was luckily one of the long leg ones. So,
Yeah. Well, we are about at our time limit. I've got another question for you.
okay.
You've shared a lot of really cool insights today about personal growth and development and mindset and that sort of thing. I know you mentioned Rob Renz was a huge resource for you. Great dude. Does a lot for a lot of people. You mentioned Tim Howard,
Right.
Being a huge resource in the Man School that he runs. Do you have a particular book that you'd like to recommend to our listeners that you found particularly insightful or helpful on this journey for you?
The biggest one that steps out is The Go-Giver by Bob Berg.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've read that. It's a great book.
Story. It's been a wonderful resource for me. I want to start reading. I'm going to go through it a second time as soon as I finish a book that Rob gave me called Jab, Jab, Right Hook. Sorry, Rob, I still got it.
It's out there now. Now he knows.
So, yeah. I actually was looking through a pile of stuff, and I was like, oh, man, I still got Rob's book. And then I realized I was still in the first chapter. So, well, I might as well finish it since I still have it.
Might as well finish it now.
Yeah.
He won't mind. He's missed it
No.
this long.
He won't mind. He won't mind at all.
So,
So The Go-Giver. That's it.
Go-Giver,
That's it.
yep.
You can't go wrong with that one.
Not at all.
Have you read that one, Avery?
I have not.
It's in line with what you were talking. I think you've already got the principles down, but it's a quick read.
yeah.
I'll check it out. I do audiobooks these days. It's kind of weird. I found that a few times people will recommend books, and I'll start reading them, and I'll just think, yeah, why wouldn't you do it that way? And then I kind of trail off. That happened with The Speed of Trust was another one. I remember there was this time period in the military where everybody was like, hey, you got to read this book. I read the first couple pages and just thought, this is common sense. This is strange. Why's everybody reading this?
Maybe there was something deeper in the middle that you didn't make it to.
Maybe my parents are smarter than I give them credit for.
They could
Maybe I
be.
should skip the middle of the book, too. I'll try that, too.
What book was that?
The Speed of Trust.
The Speed of Trust.
And I believe it's by the son of the person who wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I think it's Stephen R. Covey Jr.
Gotcha.
wrote it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, you'd be surprised how often reading through things that you already know just helps to
Bring it back to the forefront,
yeah,
right?
bring it back
Check
to
it
the
out.
forefront and puts things. You read something through a different lens every time you read it. I think Stephen Chandler was talking about that on a podcast I was listening to with Chris Dorris, and he was saying that the first time is inspiration, and the second time is transformation.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time you read through something, you actually are inspired by it, but the second time you go through it, you're now walking through it through an evolved mind thought process. So you've evolved your mind, you've learned, you've grown, and now you're going back into something, and you'll see it with a different set of
Yeah.
lenses.
I'm definitely a different version of myself than when I initially read them. So I'll do that. Because I have been rereading or re-listening to a number of books. I did it with The Obstacle is the Way, The Neuropsychology of Self-Discipline. I'm currently doing it with 48 Laws of Power. It's like a giant list of like supervillain reading list. But I'll check those out.
Oh, and I got to give the American Legion a plug.
For it.
I've been in with Elizabeth Hartman and trying to, kind of revamp the thought process behind American Legion, and we're just rocking and rolling in New Bern. So there's other there's other cities that are doing a bang-up job of doing the same thing. So I would say if anybody is considering it, don't negate the American Legion. I mean, they're the strongest lobbying arm that we have.
Fair enough. If people wanted to get in touch with you about insurance, or maybe they want to talk about their missing testicle or whatever it is, what's the best way for them to do that?
Your choice. I've got LinkedIn. There's Facebook. I'm on both. I actually have an Instagram and a TikTok, which is crazy.
Nice.
I think
Do
Anthony
you do
Wagner
the
called me out on
dances?
that. I have. I've done a few dances. Mostly in the car, like Morgan Latmore.
Do you have an email address you want to put out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to put my phone number out there.
Yeah, go for it.
252-702.
Start over. I talked over you.
Oh, 252-702-7693. And my email. There's like 10,000 of them. So just check me out at localusa.org, David H. at localusa.org.
Okay. Well, man, I want to thank you not just for being on the show, but for being so open and genuine during this conversation. You put a lot on the table, and I think that really helps people not just connect with you as a person, but helps them understand their own situation as well.
Right.
That maybe it isn't as unique or as catastrophic as they thought it was. There's people out there that struggle with all kinds of things, man. I think you just inspired a ton of people today and gave a lot of people a path they can go on that'll change their lives. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah. I mean, catastrophe is a matter of how you look at it. I've got plenty more stories I could tell on that, but that's for another time.
We'll do it again then. All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Folla Capital helps small businesses raise capital using one of the several programs authorized under the 2012 Jobs Act. They are especially passionate about helping to raise capital for veteran-owned, women, and minority-owned small businesses across the country. Be sure and check them out at follacapital.com.